Good afternoon, football fans, or good morning if you're in the West Coast, or on the West Coast rather. Big Al here on this Sunday, December 8th, 2024. Welcome to the Week 14 NFL Injury Report, as we'll be taking a look at all the latest injuries from the remaining 12 games from week number 14 in the NFL. And of course, this is excluding Thursday Night Football between the Packers and Lions. So with that, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. And here we go with the Week 14 Injury Report. And we're going to kick things off with the New Orleans Saints at the New York Giants. First up for the Saints, tight end Taysom Hill is out with a knee. And he is out for the season, unfortunately. Defensive end Tana Pasagnon is questionable with an Achilles. Wide receiver Bub Means is out with an ankle. Running back Kendry Miller is questionable with a hamstring. And guard Nick Salivari is out with a knee. And for the Giants, and this is a laundry list here, including cornerback Deonte Banks out today with a rib. Defensive tackle DJ Davidson doubtful with a shoulder. Tackle Jermaine Illuminor doubtful with a quad. Cornerback Cordell Flott is questionable with both a quad and a knee. Tackle Chris Hubbard questionable with a knee. Linebacker Deontay Johnson is questionable with an ankle. Both wide receiver Malik Neighbors and tackle Evan Neal are questionable with hip injuries. Defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches is out with a neck and a shoulder. Linebacker Bobby Okereke is out with a back. Cornerback Andrew Phillips is questionable with a shoulder. And defensive tackle Jordan Riley is questionable with a knee. Next, the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins, and we'll start off with the Jets. Tackle Olu Fashanu is questionable with a toe. Cornerback Sauce Gardner doubtful with a hamstring. Running back Breece Hall is doubtful with a knee. Both will not play. Tackle Morgan Moses is questionable with a knee and a shoulder. Linebacker CJ Mosley is out with a neck. Guard Xavier Newman Johnson is questionable with a groin. Cornerback Quantez Stiggers, he's questionable with an illness. And guard Elijah Vera Tucker is questionable with an ankle. And for the Dolphins, everyone listed will be questionable for today, including tackle Teron Armstead with a knee, linebacker Bradley Chubb also with a knee, long snapper Blake Ferguson with an illness, linebacker Cameron Good with a knee, cornerback Kader Kohu with a back, running back Raheem Mostert with a hip, and linebacker Anthony Walker with a hamstring. All are listed as questionable. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. We'll start with Atlanta. Cornerback Mike Hughes is questionable with a neck. Running back Jace McClellan is out with a knee. Defensive end Ruke Orororo is questionable with an ankle. And wide receiver Casey Washington is out with a concussion. And for the Vikings, long snapper Andrew DePaula is questionable with a hand. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore is out with a hamstring. Defensive end Patrick Jones II questionable with a knee. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips questionable with a back. Kicker Will Reichert is questionable with a right quadricep. Guard Dalton Reismer is questionable with a back. And defensive end Andrew Van Ginkel is questionable with a thigh. Continuing on with the Las Vegas Raiders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For Vegas, cornerback Nate Hobbs is out with an ankle. Running back Alexander Madison is questionable with an ankle. He might not play, though. Wide receiver Jacoby Myers is also questionable with an ankle. Tight end Justin Shorter is doubtful with a back. And running back Zamir White is out with a quad. And for the Bucks, linebacker KJ Britt is out with an ankle. Safety Mike Edwards is out with a hamstring. Cornerback Josh Hayes is questionable with a hamstring. Cornerback Troy Hill is out with both a foot and a knee. Running back Bucky Irving is questionable with a hip and a back, but he is expected to play. Wide receiver Trey Palmer is questionable with a hip. Linebacker J.J. Russell is questionable with a hamstring. Safety Tyke Smith is questionable with a knee. Linebacker Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is questionable with an ankle. And linebacker Marquise Watts is out with a knee. Big divisional game with the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll start with the Browns first. Cornerback Miles Harden is questionable with a tibia. Defensive tackle Marcus Hurst out with an ankle. Defensive tackle Sam Kamara is out with a concussion. Safety Juan Thornhill is questionable with a calf. Wide receiver Jamari Thrash questionable with a shoulder. Meanwhile, wide receiver Cedric Tillman with a concussion and tackle Jedrick Wills with a knee are both listed as outs. And for the Steelers, defensive tackle Montavious Adams is out with a knee. But the big one here is wide receiver George Pickens, listed as questionable with a hamstring, but he will not play today. Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans, and we'll begin with the Jaguars. All 4 players listed are listed as questionable. Linebacker Yasir Abdullah with a hamstring. Tyson Campbell, the cornerback, with a thigh. Punter Logan Cook with a left knee. And long snapper Royce Matzik with a hamstring. All listed as questionable for Jacksonville. And for the Tennessee Titans, linebacker Jerome Baker is questionable with a neck. Cornerback Jarvis Brownlee Jr. is questionable with a hip. Guard Logan Bruce is out with a knee. Tackle Jalen Duncan out with a hamstring. The remaining players are questionable, including cornerback Roger McCreary with a shoulder, linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr. with a hamstring, defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat with a shoulder, tackle Leroy Watson IV with a back, and linebacker James Williams with a knee. Next, the Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles, and there's a lot of names on here for the Panthers, so we'll start with them. Linebacker Jadeveon Clowney, questionable with a knee. Wide receiver Jalen Coker, doubtful with a quadricep. Cornerback Caleb Farley, questionable with a shoulder. Guard Robert Hunt, questionable with a back. Linebacker Josie Jewell, questionable with a hamstring. Tight end Jatavian Sanders, questionable with a neck. Safety Nick Scott is questionable with a hamstring, but he's officially listed as a personal matter. And linebacker DJ Wanham is questionable with a knee. And for the Eagles, they have 4 players on the report, and they're all out. Safety Reed Blankenship with a concussion. Safety Sidney Brown with a knee. Wide receiver Britton Covey with a neck. And tight end Dallas Goedert with a knee, all listed as out for Philadelphia. Now to the late games, beginning with the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. For Seattle, cornerback Trey Brown is doubtful with a hamstring. Punter Michael Dixon, questionable with a back. Tackle Stone Forsythe is out with a hand. And running back Kenneth Walker III is listed as questionable with an ankle and a calf, but he will not play in this game. And for the Cardinals, cornerback Elijah Jones is out with an ankle. Defensive tackle Naquan Jones is questionable with an elbow. Defensive tackle Dante Stills questionable with a back. And safety Jalen Thompson is questionable with an illness. Next, the Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers. We'll begin with the Bears. Guard Ryan Bates is out with a concussion. Safety Elijah Hicks is out with an ankle. Running back Roschon Johnson also out with a concussion. Wide receiver DJ Moore is questionable with a quad. And the same as well for running back DeAndre Swift. He's also questionable with a quad injury. And for the 49ers, which looks like a virtual mash unit, if you will, guard Aaron Banks is questionable with a concussion. Defensive end Nick Bosa is doubtful with a hip and an oblique. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is questionable with a knee. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, who has not played all year, he's out once again with an Achilles. Safety Talanoa Hufanga is questionable with a wrist. Meanwhile, running back Jordan Mason with an ankle and safety George Odom with a knee, as well as tackle Trent Williams with an ankle, all are listed as outs. Next, the Buffalo Bills at the Los Angeles Rams. We'll start with the Bills first. Defensive tackle Dwayne Carter and wide receiver Keon Coleman are both questionable with wrist injuries. Tackle Tylen Grabble is questionable with a groin. Tight end Dalton Kincaid is questionable with a knee. And tight end Quentin Morris is questionable with a shoulder and a groin. And for the Rams, tight end Tyler Higbee is out today with a knee. Tackle Alaric Jackson is questionable with a foot. Tackle KT Livingston is out with an ankle. And linebacker Jarrett Verse is questionable with an ankle. Next up, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. We'll begin with the Chargers. Linebacker Junior Colson is questionable with an ankle. Safety Tony Jefferson is questionable with a hamstring. Wide receiver Ladd McConkey is questionable with a knee and a shoulder. We'll see later on if he does play. And linebacker Denzel Perryman is doubtful with a groin. Only one name for the Chiefs, and that's wide receiver McCole Hardman. He's questionable with a knee. He did not partake in practice this week. And then tomorrow night, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. Will begin with the Bengals. Tackle Orlando Brown is out with a fibula. Wide receiver Charlie Jones questionable with a groin. And defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins is out with an illness. And for the most part, they're going into this game pretty much healthy. And for the Dallas Cowboys, pretty much the same thing. They're going into this game kind of healthy, with the exception of cornerback Trevon Diggs, questionable with a knee. Tackle Tyler Guyton, questionable with an ankle and a knee. Guard Zach Martin, out with an ankle and a shoulder, and I think he's out for the season, if I read that correctly. Safety Wanye Thomas, he's out with a knee. And linebacker Nick Vigil is questionable with a foot injury. Okay, that's the latest injury report for Week 14 in the NFL, as we are now less than 40 minutes away from kickoff of the 7 early games. Now, ESPN is presently airing the College Football Playoff Selection Show. They're about to unveil the final College Football Playoff Top 25 rankings of the season, and then they'll unveil the first ever 12-team bracket for the CFP. If you want to watch that, it's on ESPN right now. I will be on tomorrow and give you the details from this ranking. Alright. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.